Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Steel City Screams. I am Ashley Ray with my co host.
Bryn, am I?
And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies, Host. Yes, I have it on Blu ray.
I
And
love that.
when we were talking about films that we wanted to talk about, Host was definitely one of the ones I wanted to talk about because it came out in 2020 during the pandemic. But I think it is a film that really does a good job with the jump scares and the anxiety inducing that a lot of horror films can't seem to get anymore, if that makes sense. So I was like, Bryn, have you seen this? And I was like, you gotta watch it. And so before we talk about it, what was your feelings on it?
So I heard about it obviously once it came out, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, that's on my watch list. And I didn't watch it up until you told me, like, Brent, yeah, you need to watch the movie. I love the movie. I think you said it was kind of funny in the text. I swear I remember you saying, like, I just have an unhealthy obsession with this movie and I love it so much. And I was like, okay. Because I personally am pretty picky when it comes to paranormal movies.
Same.
Like, I cannot watch the Annabelle movies. Don't ask me to do it. I just can't.
Have you
I'm just like,
seen them, or you just don't even want to bother?
I don't even want to bother.
Okay.
And no shade towards anybody involved in those films. I just, not for me. And I just know that right now. There's just, I don't know, there's just something about it that I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I think I might have actually watched one of them, or it was like introduced in one of the Conjuring or Insidious movies. I can't recall which one it was. And I just wasn't interested in it at the end of the day. But like, I love the Paranormal Activity movies to a certain extent as well.
Yes.
I have my cutoff with those two where I'm like, nah, this is about
Understandable.
Katie and Micah and her sister, and like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's my Paranormal Activity. Again, no shade to the other ones, because I know, like, for example, if I recall, Catherine Newton from The Society is in one of them, and I do love her, but I just was not vibing with it after they did the third one when Katie and her sister were kids. So, yeah, I was very skeptical, I think is the right word, watching this movie. And I went in with low expectations, which is what I try to do with a lot of movies now, especially when it comes to horror, because the horror genre is a big, big love for me. But there's a lot of things I go into these movies and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's Michael Myers or it's Ghostface again. And,
Yep.
And then you're like, you go watch the movie and you're like,
you're heartbroken. Literally.
Yeah. And Halloween Ends is another goddamn
yeah.
That's another goddamn conversation for another day.
We will have to have that conversation at some point.
Yeah, we will. And just to actually real quickly to say this about that movie, my one friend Francesco, who I hope we actually can get on here to talk about that movie, because he actually loved it. And I was like, friend, my love, no. And again, it's no shade to anybody in that movie, because there are certain aspects in the movie that I really loved, but I left that movie so disappointed, so angry. Didn't make sense to me.
Yep.
I'm going to leave it at that, because then we will get into a spiel about it. And again,
we'll have to rename the
discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But Host, yeah, again, I went into it with low expectations. I had my roommate watch it with me, and we watched it in the dark, like you said.
Yeah.
Which was so great.
You have to watch it in the dark.
It added to the effect of it so much, because a lot of the movie they ended up filming in the dark. So it felt like you were in it with them. And I really enjoyed that. I wasn't expected to get as scared as I did.
Yeah.
Funny enough, because I feel like it takes a lot for me to get scared watching a horror movie.
Same. Same.
So, and it happened like once or twice where I was like genuinely scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for those one or two times, that still says something to me about what a horror movie can do
Yeah.
and how it can surprise you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what and I guess I should have said this before. We are going to get into some spoilers about the movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, maybe watch it before this, just so we don't spoil anything for you. But that is one of my favorite things about found footage and this new like computer screen genre
Mm-hmm.
that if it's done well, you feel like you're there with them. And it brings like this certain, at least for me, like kind of like something you found or you're there with them. And I like it gives it a different feeling if it's made right. Because, there's some that just don't hit the mark, but like it's it's interesting because this screen, you good?
Maybe there's no, I mean, yeah. My fan's on right in front of me, but this keeps like flopping. I think it did our first episode too. And I'm like, it's
Oh,
not a ghost. It's not a ghost. It's the
I
wind.
think it's a ghost.
Shut up. I live here. I sleep here. But I'm
um
so sorry for like making a distraction. Please continue.
I don't know what I was saying. I think about just like this it's now that I've seen Host and like see I don't know if you've seen Searching or Missing, but those were like computer screen genre movies and I think it's really cool and I would love to make a movie like that, like through Zoom. I think it would be so awesome. And seeing them do that and create such like it was just something that never really dawned on me before. And then they made such a great movie out of it. It was really cool.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So actually I ended up making a little horror short with a couple of my friends, and we did half on Zoom, half in
Thanks
person.
for the invite.
Girl, this was before I knew you. Like really knew
hmm
you.
hmm
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I filmed this in 2021. Yeah, 2021. And it's still in the editing room right now. But it was a very interesting experience for sure, because you're trying to connect with everybody, but you're by yourself. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting to do it. And like I kind of watched back some of the clips and I'm like, oh, Bryn. I went like and I don't know, I feel like a lot of actors go through oh, I could have done this better, I should have done that instead, and it's a pain in the ass, but I'm very proud of it and I'm proud of everyone involved, and I think we worked our ass off and tried to do the best that we could with what we had. We had no budget and we bought everything like out of our pocket unless we
Sure.
had something already. And yeah, I mean, I flew all the way down to Tennessee to film with friends and it was great. But yeah, it wasn't paranormal because we were like, I feel like that's been done a lot. Let's try something a little different here. So it was just definitely an interesting process to go through, I must say.
You said you went to Tennessee.
Yeah. So my
Okay,
one of my
so when are
dad's
we flying to Tennessee to film the next one?
well, yes, no, I'm not gonna spoil it. Did anybody live? I don't know. Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
But well, girl, don't get me down that rabbit hole. You're trying to tempt me right now. Um, I'll tell you after.
Okay, back to
Um,
host. Back to
yeah,
host.
back to host. We don't want to get sidetracked here. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, my roommate and I, we sat in our living room, we watched it on my laptop. Um, completely pitch black in our house. It was dark outside. And I was like, okay. I'm vibing.
Yeah,
It's all
because
right.
when I texted you, I was like, make sure to watch it in the dark
Yeah.
because I knew that it would
It's
be.
so much better. So
Yeah.
anybody that, I mean, if you've gotten this deep in, you're still okay before the spoilers.
Mhm.
But this will probably be like the last thing that her and I say before we get into the spoiler part. So we will say one more warning after this. So watching it in the dark has a much better effect to it.
Yeah.
So shut your lights off, sit in the room. If you're cool with it by yourself, you're baller. I would have been too, but I was like, my roommate hasn't seen it either. Like, let's watch it together. So, yeah, it just had a much bigger effect for me, at least. And I'm sure, like, obviously, because you told me to do it, it did for you as well.
Yeah.
So I would say first timers, watch it in the dark. Watch it
Yes.
in the dark. It's such a different atmosphere.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the movie. So it starts out with six friends, and this is during the pandemic, and they have these weekly Zoom meetings just kind of to catch up. So they hire a medium to perform a seance. And when they are going through the seance, nothing is happening. So the one girl, Gemma, decides to make up this story about a boy she knew in school and he passed away. And that kind of invited a demon into this story for it to become this crazy attack. And they all start having these supernatural experiences. And that's kind of what the movie's about, but we talk a little further into it. And I have my handy dandy movie here. So what did you think of the characters? I liked all the characters.
I did too, for different reasons. Um, I was so the movie starting, I was like kind of taken aback. I was like, okay, this is obviously not gonna go well.
Yeah.
Um, but the twist in it was I think you would call her the medium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I always pronounce her name wrong, so we'll say the medium.
We'll go with the medium. And if I'm wrong or we're wrong, let us know how you would describe her character. So the medium basically, like, she got kicked off of the meeting after so long. I think it was right after she told her story. She's something like, oh, like my delivery's here, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And then she like got kicked out for the first time or whatever. And so the one character, I forget her name. Damn it.
Gemma,
Not Gemma, because she was the one that made up the story, right?
Haley.
Haley?
There's Haley, Caroline, Emma, Gemma, Redina, and then Teddy, which at one point his girlfriend takes him away from everything.
Teddy should have stayed the fuck away.
Teddy
Brother
does
could have
come back.
lived. Brother could have lived, but because he wasn't even involved in it initially. So I was
No,
surprised that they killed his character.
I think maybe just because I guess he just got in deep enough
Maybe. Or he
that
just returned and they were like,
yeah,
oh, shouldn't have done that.
yeah.
Um,
But he was kind of, and I think he was kind of like making fun of the situation too. So maybe that
yeah,
also like invited things in.
maybe. But the one thing that intrigued me was how the medium was like, well, your friend made up that story and that created something
Yeah,
that's evil.
yeah.
And, like, it is what it is, basically. And they were all like, well, what? Like, help us. Well, medium didn't get to help nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, because they were trying to get like a past one or someone who passed away to talk with them, and nothing was happening. So Gemma created this story about a friend, Jack, and that almost made like a shell for evil spirit to go into. And then, because even at one point, we see when paranormal stuff starts happening, Caroline goes into her attic and you see the feet of Jack, the ghost.
That was my first jump scare. I was like, oh, but it wasn't like a crazy thing. I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, because you weren't expecting that
No, you weren't
stuff,
expecting
but
it. And it was exciting because and that was kind of when I was like, oh, this is getting pretty good.
right. They didn't waste time like once shit started rolling either. They
Yeah.
were like boom, 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 boom. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like y'all made a big mistake.
Yeah. Well, what's
Like,
funny too is when the pandemic was happening, I remember seeing stuff like on Facebook about seances and like different things that people were doing through Zoom. And I remember thinking to myself, this just seems like a really bad idea. Like,
don't do it. Okay.
yeah.
Don't do it. I believe in ghosts in the spirit realm personally. I know there's people out there that aren't believers, but I'm telling you right now, you don't want to do that. Okay. Just don't do it. Don't
Yeah.
do it.
And then, so what were some other parts that kind of like, maybe not even necessarily like jump scares, but like, I'm trying to think when I think it was Redina, she was cooking something and then the fire started, her
Mhm.
boyfriend disappeared, and then at one point we see he's like up in the sky and you can see with the camera. And then at one point he just falls down.
Yeah.
And you could have, it almost happens so quick where the camera shows him that you could have missed that and may not have, and then just at one point you just see him fall down and then
Right.
you're like, where did he come from? It's a movie you have to like pay very close attention to catch every little detail, because there are so many little details that are just
I
gold.
agree. I agree. And see, like, I love detail personally. So anytime like there's little Easter eggs or a
Hmm.
bunch of like obviously details in the movies about a character or whatever the situation may be, I find it more interesting and I find it easier to connect to the characters
Yeah.
in the
Hmm.
movies.
Hmm.
And I'm an empath heavily. So, like, I'll be watching a movie or a TV show, and a lot of times I'm like sobbing like a baby because I related, or like it just really, like, the performance really moved me in some
Yeah.
way. So, having those like little moments, I think is important for the story because it shows you the importance of the characters to each other and who they are for each other, how their
Yeah.
lives are before all of this shit went down too,
Yeah.
like her Redina was her right? That's her name?
Redina was the one with the
Mhm.
boyfriend.
Right. Okay, okay. So
And they
yeah,
were
like
kind of
her,
having some issues.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Like, they were arguing a lot and she talked about it loosely in the meeting before the seance started. And so that kind of also gave an indication of what's going on in her life. But then in Caroline or Gemma,
Hmm.
yeah, like all like pretty much they're all going through different things at different times. And now they're all being thrown into this situation. And it's like, what the hell do we do?
Which I think they did a really good job with this movie because it's only 65 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have a chance to build character relationships with everybody in that
Yeah.
short amount of time, which I think is really hard. And another thing, it did feel like I don't know if you ever watch a movie and sometimes there's friends who just don't act like friends, like they're supposed to be friends and it just doesn't seem like they're
Yeah.
friends. I feel like these characters all did a pretty good job. Like, like it was like, shut up, Haley, this is all your fault. And like friends have like those little bickering moments that sometimes, I don't know, I think they did a really good job making it seem like they were actually friends and you got to see a little bit of how they all interact with one another. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from. It just seemed more authentic in that way to show they've known each other for a while. They've been through a lot together enough to where they're doing this whole seance thing together and blah, 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 blah. So they have like this trust in each other and whatnot and so on and so forth. And I feel like a lot of the bickering parts, like, of course, yeah, they're scared. Anybody would yell at their friend when they're scared.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
oh, this is your fucking fault. How would you, why, blah, 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 blah. And, I feel like everybody in a way has been through that in some way, shape, or form, obviously in a different circumstance, last situation. I hope none of you have been through this situation. Okay. But, like there's been times where I get into an argument with a friend, as an example, like in the past, and I'm like, well, why would you do that to me? I would never do that to you. And then blah, 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 blah. Like that's the kind of thing that happens on a normal basis with
Yeah,
like relationships, friendships, all that stuff.
yeah. And I think also having Teddy is kind of like the comedic character.
Uh-huh. I loved him.
Yeah. And then also it was I also thought this was really good how they did that. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but like he was the only guy friend. And of
Mhm.
course his girlfriend was like, no, pulling him away. And I feel like that is so accurate. Like with guys who are friends with girls, their girlfriends are like, no, no, you're away. But
Yeah, that does happen a lot. That does
yeah,
happen a lot. So there was like a natural moment there with that where she's like, no, just come hang out with me,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
He's like, no, wait, blah, blah, blah. And then he kicks off and they're like, what the hell? Where'd he go?
yeah.
He's with his girlfriend. That's
Which
what he's doing.
which is kind of why I think that he was kind of dragged into it all because they had kind of started the whole seance and then he was just like, peace, and then it's like, they didn't get to how they always say, like with Ouija boards, make sure you say goodbye,
Goodbye.
which I'm not
Yeah.
recommending using a Ouija board. I've never used
Please
one, but
don't. Don't do it.
um, but so I think that's kind of where that came in with him unfortunately having to deal with it too, but so did his girlfriend.
Mhm. I remember, okay, yeah, and the reason why I like emphasize don't use a Ouija board is because I did it once and it freaked the hell out of me. Don't do it. My dad told me this story when he was younger too, how he and his friends used a Ouija board. I don't know why I proceeded to attempt it after knowing this story, but just don't do it.
When I was in high
Oof.
school, I went to a cemetery for a school project, and someone had a left a
What?
homemade. It was, and someone left a homemade Ouija board on this like mausoleum thing.
Oh, hell no, girl.
And I promise I'm not
No.
making that up because
That's a horror movie.
it
That's
was
in a horror movie.
don't steal that idea. That's our idea. And
This actually happened to you, so they better not steal it.
yeah. And what's funny is my friends were like, Ashley, did you put that there? Like, come on. And I was like, no, I really didn't. So, um, but yeah, anyway, getting sidetracked again. Um,
It's okay, it happens.
and then we have Caroline's character, who she has an interesting death scene. She's the one who
Bro, that shit was wild. I was like,
it just like came out of nowhere.
yeah, because she had that video that she said okay, so backtrack a smidge. At the beginning of the movie, she made this video of herself as like a green screen. She's like, oh yeah, I have a friend. Ha ha ha. And I was like, that's actually kind of funny. But then, the demon, it like, I think she disappeared first. Then
Mhm.
she popped back up and that video came up and they're like, Caroline, Caroline. And she's not answering. And they're like, oh, guy, like somebody was like, oh, guys, like that's her video, like that she was talking about before. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 like
Yeah.
right on her desk. And I was like,
Yeah.
damn, Jack's
Killed by the
mad.
computer. Yeah. Which poor Caroline,
I'm
because
sorry.
she was such a sweetheart too.
She was. Okay. But like, I laugh in uncomfortable situations. Don't judge me. Okay.
You have to.
But
You have to.
but I was like, God damn, Jack, why are you so mad? That was aggressive.
Jack was very aggressive
He
to
was.
with pretty much everybody, and
Everyone.
he was very active.
Mm-hmm.
With although with Emma, the girl with the
Girl,
pigtails.
I was praying that they would leave poor Emma alone. Like, she was so, like, sweet. I was like, you better leave my girl Emma be.
Yeah. And I loved how she did the hiding under the blanket thing, because I
Yeah,
know people make fun of that. Like, why would you do that? But I feel like it's such a real thing that people do when
it
they're
is.
scared.
I was like not all the way hiding under my blanket, but like when I was watching it with my roommate, I was like, "Woo!"
Yeah.
Like with my
Yeah.
blanket. Oh my god, oh my god. Like literally, wait, like this. For certain parts, especially uh in a later death scene, which we'll get to and I know we'll bring up. But oh my gosh, dude, it's real. It is real. And I don't know why people make fun of it, because I know for a fact, even when you were a child, that's the kind of stuff you would do. Come on.
Yeah, you don't leave your feet hanging off the bed. The demon will come and grab you.
Yeah,
Everybody knows that. You're safe under the blanket. Come on.
absolutely. I live by that.
And Emma does she has clever ways of kind of seeing when the demon is around. Um she like at one point threw the blanket, and then it did like the outlining of Jack the demon. And when she would use the face filters, and then one would pop up and turn and look at her. And so she had really clever ways of figuring out if the demon was in the room with her. And I also put in these two little pigtails to
Honor Emma.
honor Emma. Yeah. And unfortunately, I feel like she could have maybe made it. I don't know. But her death was kind of accidental, because she fell out the window. I mean, the demon was chasing her, but hers was more a little bit removed from the demon.
Yeah, it depends on how far she fell.
Yeah.
I mean, because she could have just broken something or
Yeah.
worse, obviously. But, who knows? Because I mean, I don't think there's ever been a discussion of a second one. Um, I would be open to it.
Same.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, usually in those kind of movies, though, you do end up seeing everyone is gone. That's
Hmm.
normally how those ones end, you know. But if you didn't directly see them die on screen, I think that's an indication,
Yeah.
probably still alive. They're just in a lot of pain.
And let's talk about Teddy.
Bruh.
And yeah.
He's going up those stairs, right? Going up the stairs. And then all of a sudden you see, I think it was Jack's face.
Yeah.
I screamed at the top of my lungs. I was so unprepared for that moment. And I have never gotten like that in so many years watching a horror movie. And I was like, holy shit, like that scared the hell out of me.
Yeah,
It
I
really
know.
did.
I wish, because I always all of my friends, I'm like, you have to watch this movie, and I won't tell them anything about it. And I like get so excited for that moment because I know they're gonna scream. And
Right.
but even me, who has seen this movie quite a few times, I still, my heart will start racing. Even though
Mm-hmm.
I know it's coming, I know exactly when it's coming, and I still jump and
Right.
and my heart is like pounding, which I think makes me love it even more because it just,
It's the adrenaline that a horror movie can give you, man. It
it's
really is.
it's like going into a really good haunted house.
Right.
Yeah. So, but and I think that's, yeah, the first time that we really see Jack's face.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of has like, to me, like when he screams, it almost looks like he has like paint coming out of his mouth. I don't, it was very cool. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't even know what it was, but it was super cool. And his girlfriend gets Jack gets her above the pool, and then unfortunately Teddy catches on fire.
It's not funny. I mean, it's the way you looked at me. Why are you doing this to me? Yo, I was
I
like,
didn't know how else to put it.
he catches on fire. We're horrible.
Well,
Oh,
and
it's okay.
that whole scene is full of a lot of anxiety too, because he has that toy that's making the music and everything like that, and there's just so
Yeah,
much suspense
it really
and
is.
that feeling of anxiety. And then it's just, it's a really spooky scene.
Right, right.
And then in the meantime, Haley, the girl who was the one who set up the seance, Jack kind of takes her and drags her away.
Mm-hmm.
So Gemma, in a sense, breaks out of her house to go to Haley to try to save her, because with COVID, they're not even supposed to be outdoors. They're not supposed to leave their house. Um, I don't think I said this movie does take place in the UK, so it was a little
Mm-hmm.
different anyway than how it was in the US. Um, but when she gets there, things start to really go down too.
Yeah.
And she finds Haley, and this is another part where your heart's just beating like crazy. You feel this anxiety. You know something spooky is going to happen,
Right.
but you can't help but still jump and get scared.
Yeah,
And
I had like a mini jump at the end myself. It wasn't anything as crazy as the one with Teddy. Teddy's
yeah.
was the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
Teddy's moment was the biggest one for me. And because I knew it was gonna come,
Mhm.
so I feel like I was already prepared for it.
Yeah.
But I liked like you said too, like with oh, come on, Bryn, English. Like you said with Emma, like she was throwing like flour on the floor to indicate his footprints, throwing
Mhm.
the blanket, looking at the filters. Where Haley, once Gemma got there, and she was even doing this beforehand as well, she was taking photos
Yeah.
to see if it would catch the ghost too.
Yeah.
So that was also like another interesting input too.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And so to kind of, they're taking the pictures trying to find Jack, and Jack appears, and then
And
that's
he
kind of
eats the
how
camera.
he does. He eats the
He pretty
camera.
much eats the camera. Indication he obviously got Gemma and Haley,
Yeah.
but
And I think, and it's so funny because that part again, I know when it's coming up, and I get so excited when I wish I would have been able to watch it with you, um, in person, but because I get so excited when I know it's gonna come up, and I still get my heart still going crazy.
Right.
Um, but I think also what was unique about this film was that they did show Jack, where in a lot of paranormal, like, they usually don't always. And he was kind of like, I don't know necessarily of what you would imagine a demon to be, but almost like creature like,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they tried to give him this like humanity almost,
Mhm.
obviously invisibly, but then in like certain aspects of seeing the feet or seeing the face or,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, and
It was
creature-esque, like it kind of gave like, have you seen the or played the game Until Dawn?
yes.
Yeah. So it kind of almost gave like that creepy Wendigo-esque kind of
Mhm.
way about it too.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of different things that I really enjoyed about that as well.
Yeah, with like the well, I say it looks like paint, but like because it looked like blue at one point, but like the blood coming out of the mouth, and
Uh-huh.
it was just very, because even like, well, Paranormal Activity, they do kind of show, um, but it wasn't just things moving around the house, candles blowing out. Um, it was we got to see him, and it was scary. They did a good job.
Absolutely.
It was
We'll definitely have to cover those movies too, because especially the first one, man. I actually got to meet Katie and Micah in January at
mhm.
Days of the Dead Atlanta, and they're so sweet. I have to add. So if you ever can meet them at a con, do it. But I told them, I was like, I watched that movie by myself for the first time when I was 8. 8. And they were like, "Oh, wow." I can't remember which, I think it was Micah. I swear. He was like, "Got a lot of balls." And I was like, "I guess so." But, I regretted it
Yeah.
at that age. I remember sitting on the couch and I'm like hiding. I'm like, "Why did I do this? I want my mom and my dad." Like, but it's those are the movies that I love now.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just got to be ballsy when you're little kids.
Yeah, that's true. Not for everybody, but
Not for everyone,
it
but
worked. It worked for us. We turned out okay.
yeah, I'm totally fine. But yeah, I just think it was so well done. And I remember also one of my friends was like, "Oh my gosh, I thought this was like real."
Yeah.
And when I was little, I thought this actually was real.
Mhm. Well,
And then
that
I grew up and I was like, that was definitely not. And they are quite fine.
well, that's what I love about the Paranormal Activity, the Host, is even if you know it's not real, it does sort of still feel real.
Right. Like even the Blair Witch Project, too.
Oh, yes.
You know, like those are good quality paranormal movies, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
I
No,
love those.
I agree. And I think it's something, even if you don't love the concept, like some people might with Host might not love the concept, but it's the way it was done
Mhm.
that really, like, I think really is like, it's great.
I agree.
I agree.
Oh.
We're also starting a band. I don't know if you wanted to mention that.
Um,
Um,
I don't know if anybody wants to hear my vocals.
so what would you I don't really like rating movies, but with Host, would you recommend, what are your final thoughts on Host?
So Yes, I would recommend this movie. And as we both have said, please, first time viewers, watch it in the dark. And even if you've already seen it and you haven't watched it in the dark, do it again and
Yep.
see what kind of effect it puts on you compared to the first time watching it with, a lamp on or whatever.
Yeah. And put down your cell phones too. Don't just
Yes.
literally just watch the TV, because there's little like Easter eggs, little details that you'll miss out. It's like a video game. Like there's so many
Yeah.
little details. That's how Host is. It has so many little different details.
Give it your full attention, kids.
Full attention.
You better give it your full attention. But and overall I really enjoyed it. It would be a movie that I would watch again. So I would rate it like a 7 out of 10. Give it like, a high middle. I was thinking 8. I really did like the movie, but there are other movies that I would pick to
Sure.
watch again before Host.
Okay.
So you know what? 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
7.5 out of 10.
All right. So I did pretty good with my pick on
Oh,
this.
absolutely, girl.
Yeah. So like I said, I have a very unhealthy obsession with this movie. And so of course it's great for me. 5 stars. Not to sound crazy. Maybe 4.8 stars out of 5. 9.5 out of 10. Not to
Really
sound
good.
too
4.8 out of 5 and 9.5 out of 10.
love it. Love it. Yeah, so I thank you so much for watching my pick and letting us
course.
do an episode on Host. And yeah, so what else do we have planned coming up?
Well, guys, Ashley and we're both very busy gals doing a lot of different things and personal things. So we are trying our best to post as much as possible and film as much as possible. So please just stay patient with us. We do really appreciate all of the love that you guys have given us starting this out already. I've had a lot of people message or comment on posts that were really excited about our podcast, and I'm really appreciative of it. I know Ashley is too. So for the next couple episodes, we are going to discuss a couple more movies, which you'll just find out when we start our episodes out. But we are working on guests from films that, we've done together with these other actors or DPs, directors, all that stuff. And we will be getting more in depth about our movie Macabre Mountain very soon. So stay tuned on all of that. It's coming. It's coming fast, and we're really excited for everybody to see it. If you haven't already, please go check out our Indiegogo for our final fundings. It's Macabre Mountain, MACABRE Mountain. And it'll show some behind the scenes pictures, give a little more description. There are some great final perks happening. So please, please, please go check it out. We've already raised, I think, 25,000. Like we've already gone over our, budget thingy, not budget thingy. You know what I mean? Our goal.
Yeah.
That's it. Our
Mhm.
goal. And I'm really, really excited about that. To me, that shows how much you guys love the cast, love the crew, love the project itself. There is a teaser trailer on there too, so go take a look at it, y'all. We're excited. I'm so excited for it to come out.
Yeah, it's gonna be super cool, and just looking forward to the premiere and seeing it, and it's awesome. What can I say?
So great.
Awesome.
Well, guys, we appreciate y'all and we love ya, and we can't wait to continue this amazing journey.
Yes, and watch Host for me.
Go watch Host now.
Watch it now. It might still be on Shudder. If not, Amazon. You can find it. I promise.
She promises.
All right. Thanks for checking us out at Seal City Screams.
Mwah!
Bye.
Have a good week, y'all.